Charlie loved this country, and he loved partnering with organizations that truly stand for what makes America great. One of our most trusted partners, AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is doing something special in Charlie's honor. AMAC is offering free memberships to all ages. No credit card, no strings attached, just a chance to stand for faith, family, and freedom. Join this movement. Go to amac.us/Charlie today. That is amac.us/Charlie today. You were predicting that there was a little bit of Oppo research coming down the pike. So let's play your clip 134.
By informed spidey senses, we're going to see at least one more piece of pretty significant opposition research dropped in this race here at the end that will potentially shake things up. On one of the candidates, of course. No, on Mondami. I think.
Will it have a effect on the outcome?
If it's what I'm told it is, it would have an effect.
So, Mark, that was got a lot of eyeballs across the social media sphere. What is the update? Are we going to see this? It's pretty late in the game. That was basically the consensus sort of opinion I was hearing. Why, if they had it, why didn't they release it before? What's the update?
Well, it's a little complicated. First of all, on two-way, we try to be transparent, right? We're not old media where we know secret things so we don't tell our audience. And I was dealing with the source who I trust over years of dealing, and this person said, we have something. We're not sure we're going to be able to put it out because we got to square the circle and dot the I's, but we're trying to. And then two things have come out since I said that, which if Mondami were being treated like a normal candidate, I think would have had a major impact on the race. But the New York Times in particular is covering him like they covered Barack Obama in 2008. It's all about rainbows and special ponies as opposed to scrutiny of the frontrunner. So one story was a video that never been out as far as I could tell of Mondami comparing unfavorably the New York City police, who he might be the commander of in a few weeks, with the Israeli army, the Israeli military. So that came out. And then another thing came out since then. His mother said that he was not an American, that he didn't really identify as an American. Both of those things, I think, in a normal race, normal coverage would have been explosive. My source won't tell me if those were the things they were referring to. So there might still be something else, but it's possible that one of those two things, again, which should normally shake up a race, just haven't, because except for the New York Post and me, not many people are covering these things.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty shocking thing to admit. I mean, I think it's something, and Blake, we can bring you in here, but Blake Neff is joining us here. It's a pretty shocking thing, actually, for the mother of the mayoral candidate in New York City, the largest, greatest city, apparently, that we have, according to many, and for him to basically have a family member, his mother, say that he doesn't even identify as American. Here's my thought, though, on this. Is that essentially you have about, 60 or is it 4? I might be inverting them.
It might be a winning strategy with the New York electorate.
Yeah, the New York electorate is essentially, let's say half, because it's either 40 or 60%, I'm forgetting off the top of my head, is foreign born. So this is not necessarily really that American of a city in its present form and demographics. I mean, maybe this is actually a net ad for him, Mark.
It might be. And, the other thing might be an ad too. He basically said that the IDF, the Israeli military, laces up the boots of the NYPD and suggests they're both kind of like jackbooted thugs. Again, there'd be some constituency for that. And certainly this is an unorthodox campaign. I've been referring lately regarding Mondami to Donald Trump's famous, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose support. What would have to come out about Mondami for the New York Times to write a front page story about the front runner? What would he have to do? Because when they say, well, his mom said this about him when he was in college. He wasn't in college that long ago. He's only 34. So it's not like, total ancient history. So like I said, my source has gone a little dark on me and there may still be something else, but it's possible that one of those two things were the things they put out, and they had the perspective I did, which is you would think at this point in the campaign, they would be concerned about their place in history for failing to scrutinize the front runner.
Well, it just strikes me that what could even, we have early voting in New York, and he has got, according to the polls, a pretty big lead. What even let alone New York Times writing about it. Just what could possibly actually close that gap in the amount of time that's remaining? And
Yeah,
I
mean,
kind of feel
well-
it might be nothing.
yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, so two very prominent New York top Post columnists have come out and said basically Andrew Cuomo's a bum, but he's our bum. That they were voting for Cuomo, Cindy Adams and Michael Goodwin. And I have seen, again, it's anecdotal, but I have seen and heard from many people, Republicans, who said, I'm just not going to waste my vote on the Republican nominee, Curtis Lewa. I'm going to vote for Cuomo. And the bandwagon effect is not nothing, right? If people think if they vote for Cuomo, they might be able to stop a socialist mayor who they don't want to see. I also think I'm predicting, I don't know this reporting wise, but I would say I'm predicting. I wouldn't be surprised if there were robocalls, maybe from Donald Trump and others, to Republicans over the weekend saying, don't vote for Curtis, vote for Cuomo because it's the only way to save the city. So if you look at public opinion polls, you'd say the race is over, but it's hard to poll this electorate, right? Because as you know, you're trying to poll regular voters, people who vote on a reliable basis. A lot of Mondami supporters wouldn't show up there. So I don't know which way that cuts, but I know there's some volatility here, and Cuomo could get wiped out, or it could be quite close, and we're just not going to know till Tuesday.
And if it is close, or even if it's, as long as Mamdani gets below 50%, where there's the sense if they'd consolidated fully to beat him, I do feel like there's going to be a lot of questions asked, why was there a failure to fully consolidate the field? And I've heard people complain a lot. There's a lot of pressure that was put on Sliwa to drop out and on Republicans to just get behind Cuomo. But I also heard people validly ask, okay, first of all, why is it ever okay to just say, oh, the entire Republican Party has to quit this race because Democrats couldn't get a better, centrist candidate against Mamdani? But also, was anything seriously offered? Like, was there an incentive given for Republicans or for Sliwa specifically where you will get this concession? This is going to be a much more conservative Cuomo government than it would be otherwise in order to incentivize the creation of that unified anti-Mamdani coalition?
I've seen Cuomo now go on with Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business, things like that. And Sliwa has claimed, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, here, but that somebody offered him $10 million to get out of the race. I haven't heard from a policy standpoint the concessions, but it does seem like Cuomo is trying to present himself as more of a centrist. He's been hinting at the fact that there is a civil war on the within the Democrat Party, and that he believes that the far left Democrat socialists like Mamdani are going to destroy the party. Maybe you have more insight for us, Mark.
Well, look, Cuomo is not the most liberal member of the party by any means. He's got some very liberal positions on some social issues, but he's not a flaming liberal on economics, and certainly not as compared to Mondami. So, elections are about choices. There's three people on the ballot who are trying to become mayor. One of them is not going to win, is Curtis. And I get why he's staying in. He's having the time of his life. He was very good in both debates, and he's enjoying it. So, and apparently that's worth more than $10 million. So then if you're a voter, your choices are a guy who's a socialist and inexperienced, and a guy who's deeply flawed and not particularly well liked, but is not a socialist and has a lot of experience. So it's a strange election. And Mondami has not been strong for the last 3 weeks. He was not strong in the second debate. He's not been strong in interviews. He did a big rally with Bernie Sanders and AOC. Karl Rove has a really interesting comment in the Wall Street Journal today about the speech he gave, basically accusing the city of being anti-Muslim. And he's not closing on like a super skillful mode where he's been most of the campaign. Who knows how voters will relate to that. But I think the key thing is Curtis's vote. If Curtis Lewa, who's the Republican nominee, if his vote total is below 10, I think Cuomo can win. But some recent polls have him closer to 20 than to 10.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, throw up 274. This is Emerson College recent poll where it has Mamdani at 50%. And then if you add up Cuomo and Sliwa, you're just at 46% with 5% undecided. I suppose if all the undecideds broke for Cuomo and Sliwa got out, maybe they could combine the vote, consolidate the vote, and actually pull ahead. But this is like, what I perceive is going on when you're talking about this new tone from Mamdani in the closing weeks of the race here, Mark, is that it's sort of a mask-off moment. He thinks he's got this thing in the bag, and he's reverting to a deeper, more personal held beliefs, that he's going full grievance politics about Islam and his family and 9/11 and all this stuff.
best analysis of the race I've heard from anybody in Arizona in a long time. Exactly, exactly right. The way you just said it's exactly right. And I've talked increasingly to people who are unsettled by the prospects of his being there. Not even because of his issue positions, they just find his manner to be strange. And we'll see if he does win, if he makes an effort to unify the city. I do worry, not in the short term, less about his policies, because I still think he's going to have trouble implementing a lot of the stuff he's proposing that a lot of people think is foolish. I just think there's going to be an explosive reaction from lots of constituents, particularly Jewish New Yorkers, who are just truly emotionally unsettled